Hello everyone, Voodoo here, and we are about a month and a bit at this point into the season. So I figured it'd be a good time to take a look at Warcraft Logs, Raid.io, and give a little talk about how good Havoc is this season, because at this point in time, we have data that can back up how good we are. So are we good? Are we bad? Are we broken? Are we in the middle? Who knows? But that's what we're gonna take a look at today. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Like I've been saying, we are pushing for 15,000 subscribers by the end of 2025, and I think we are on track to do that. But if you want to help, hit subscribe and get on to it. All right, so we are going to start off with raid logs first. So what I have here is all bosses damage 95th percentile mythic. Havoc, about middle of the pack. Maybe slightly above average, but towards the lower quartile. Now, I will say that this is with Survival Hunter and Marksmanship Hunter bugs that were crazily boosting their numbers. So I do expect these to drop off, potentially around to where Havoc is, maybe below, who knows. But of course, this is like not a great thing to look at, right? No one's at max eye level, right? Like the highest we have right now, I think is 663, 665, maybe 666, 668. I don't know if anyone's above that, right? Oh, we have some people above that. I'm above that. There's one red and one Fear Warrior in the 670s somehow. But you get the idea, right? It's like a lot of people are pretty under, not max eye level. And this is with all bosses, which just includes, I think this should have up to Warren Bandit. Maybe Muggsy has started to get some parses. Don't think many for Chrome King, right? Like how many parses we have? Like 10 parses of each spec. So getting some kills here. But mostly this is going to be heavily biased towards like the first 5 bosses of the raid. Like this boss only has like 200 parses still. So like something like Styx, where we're starting to get thousands, you're going to get like more data. And like some fights like this, again, are going to heavily skew towards away from certain fight profiles. But if you look at all bosses, Havoc pretty squarely in the middle. Now, if you look at damage to bosses, Havoc's actually pretty good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th, and of course it is with Bugs Survival and Bugs Marksmanship. So we'll say top 5 boss damage, which I think is honestly a pretty good marker, and part of the reason why you bring Havoc into this raid. Now, something like Fire Mage, they do their single target damage. They're like the inverse of Havoc almost, where we funnel into one target. They deal all their damage to one target and get uber free cleave off of it. So that's kind of why they have a lot of damage to bosses. They just funnel boss, and then the boss gets dragged around to ignite stuff, which is, you know, why Fire is so good. But Havoc's really good in ad fights. So if you look over at different bosses with damage to bosses, not great down here just because it's like burst oriented. Something like Styx, we should be pretty good on, right? Top 3 on damage to bosses because there's so many ads, and we just funnel in with them, right? We have Reaver's Mark up, we funnel in, which is pretty good. Sprocket, we're pretty low because we had to play no mover. Richard, in the middle. Cauldron, I think we're in the middle. So overall, in the middle of the pack is where I would put Havoc right now. We are very good. We're very tanky. You can see 1 to 2 of them in a fight if you know, you have really good Havoc, something like that. You don't have a lot of the top specs, but they're in a pretty good spot. Again, I do think that the Hunters will be brought down a bit because of their bug fixes, but overall Havoc is in an okay spot in terms of, you know, just looking at raid and how things are going. We'll get individual bosses. Vexy, top third quartile here, which is pretty good. A lot of free cleave here for Havoc, a lot of funnel, which is pretty nice. Cauldron, middle. We're not a range spec that can do double cleave damage, right? Like Destruction Warlock can hit like both targets. Af can hit both targets. Shadow Priest can hit both targets. Arms Warrior can sweep in the middle and deal damage that way. We're kind of in the middle. We don't really have a ton of ways to deal damage to both easily. Again, with Richard, just kind of middle of the pack. It's weird for Havoc on some of the things. I don't remember what their names are. The speakers or whatever, where like not all your abilities count as getting the haste buff, which is weird there. Styx, lower overall because we don't have as consistent or as constant of AoE damage, but again, we're very good on boss here, right? Like that's kind of Havoc's role, is to blast boss damage, right? Elite Shaman, Balance Druid, those guys have a lot of uncapped AoE, a lot of burst AoE. Balance is especially, this is a really good fight for them because of how much AoE they can deal. Havoc, kind of just boss stuck, right? But still pretty good. Again, Sprocket, lower down. I think as prog goes on and as like people start to get this boss on farm, more people swap over to mover. I think this will go up because if we look at Sprocket rankings and we go to Havoc, a lot of them are playing no mover. We go here, right? You'll see there's 2 movers, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the first 28. right? So I think as this, people get more comfortable with this fight, you might see more movers happening. We'll see on that. Mover does get a lot better with something like Junk Maestro's Mega Magnet whenever we get there. So we'll see how that ends up happening. Hawk obviously still playing inertia, but he's a gamer. But something like that will bring Havoc down because it's just not as good, right? Not as good overall, but this fight is one of those things where, it's just tough to do your mover rotation, especially while you're progging and stuff like that. But I think as people re-clear later on, we might see more of that. We'll see. We should prop up a bit there. Going back to stats though, and then like One Arm Bandit, Havoc's like fine, but at this point we're getting to the point where there's like 100, 200 parses, so it's like, not great. And then like we'll look at Muggsy, but again, Muggsy's one of those fights where it's like, what do we have now? We have 25 Havoc parses, right? So middle of the pack, kind of in general. So average, we'll say average. You are very important in raid in order to have a free cleave, funnel damage to boss, and bring your mark, and you're also pretty unkillable, which is good. So I think overall Havoc decent. I haven't looked at deaths. Where are we in the death log? We're pretty good. So generally the bottom is you die more, top is you die less. Havoc here with it's weird. If we do all DPS, yeah, we'll do all DPS. Havoc is like the 4th most tanky in terms of death percentage. This is on Galliwix. Let's look at all bosses. Sorry. Yeah, Havoc's like one of the tankier specs, which is what we knew. So you're pretty livable, which is pretty good in general in terms of just like the game. So obviously, of course, you have stuff like I don't want to say worst players be like BM Hunter, but more casual people maybe on BM, stuff like that. So there are things that skew this a bit, but Havoc still looking very good in terms of unkillable, looking pretty good in terms of damage. Nothing bonkers crazy. We're no Windwalker, we're no Devastation Evoker, but we have a niche in the raid. We fill that niche very, very well. We are pretty unkillable, and we bring Chaos Brand, which is obviously really good. So generally it's a tier where you'll see 1, maybe a 2nd if you have another really good Havoc in your raid, and you're missing maybe you only have like 1 Windwalker or 1 of a Devastation Evoker or something like that. So you'll see 2 Havocs, but not a tier where we're like, okay, we need 2 or 3 Havocs on all these fights, but still, pretty good overall. So, decent spot, not going to get nerfed, probably won't get buffed. Just where it is, right? I would expect maybe all these to get nerfed, but if more nerfs come in, Havoc will raise. If not, Havoc's fine where it is. Oh, decent stuff. Let's look at Mythic Plus now. All right, so we're on Raider.io, and before you hear is a pretty misleading graph. So this is all keys, all rolls. Havoc makes up 3.4% of every single spec roll, whatever, every single character that is timed to key. Havoc is 3.4% of those. Now, if we start to limit this and look at 12 and up, which is where I would start to count as like the meta really coalescing. Obviously, we could look at 15 and up, but not much point in that. 12 and up, we look at the stuff like this. You'll notice that 8.7% is Vengeance, right? Vengeance is the most represented tank. Almost half of all tanks at the 12 and up range are Vengeance. If we go higher and higher, that number starts to climb. 35% at 13, 66 at 14, and 75% at 15, which is kind of crazy because there's 6 tanks. So the big issue right now for Havoc in Mythic Plus is that Vengeance Demon Hunter is really good. And whenever Vengeance is really good, they bring more to a key than Havoc does, because they bring Silent Sigil, they bring Chain Sigil, which is just alone is stuff Havoc cannot bring. So that makes them very good. Like, yeah, Havoc has our single target stun, but if you can, force relocate a pack, which makes it easier to cleave things down, do damage that way, or if you can just silence a pack for like 6 seconds, that's very good. And Havoc just can't compete with that, unfortunately. Real ones remember back in beta when Havoc had Silent Sigil as well, which would have been a dream, but unfortunately, they deemed that too strong, and now Havoc is doomed. I'm joking. But we look at DPS. Havoc's actually in a pretty good spot. So obviously here it doesn't look like that. You'll see, 14% red, 6.3% BM, 10% Unholy. You got mages, LE shamans, balanced druid, stuff like that. If we look at melee, Havoc's actually the 3rd most represented melee DPS, which is honestly in a pretty good spot considering how bad we were last season. Look at season 1. Havoc is a very underrepresented melee spec at this point. Lower than Windwalker, only higher than Windwalker and Feral. And Rogues, but this is a little different because, like Survival Hunter was more populous. DPS in total, 1.8%. We were the 2nd lowest represented class. So things have changed for the better here, where Havoc is now, a decently represented spec. I'm not going to say we're like crazy good or anything like that, but we're in a good spot. in terms of we're actually stronger than this data might look. We just honestly at this point in time don't have a spot in the meta comp because of all of these demon hunters. Now, if there's a world where Vengeance Demon Hunter gets nerfed, and you bring something like a druid or a prot paladin or something like that, then I honestly could see Havoc coming in, because the big problem with these comps right now is that they're all just blasting AoE comps, and we haven't hit a keystone level yet. Like if we look at Kira's a very good tank, by the way, but his eye level is only 667, so he has 11 eye level left to go. 11 eye levels a lot, which means that there are a lot of keys left in order to be pushed up, right? Like we're at 19s already. It's the 5th week of the season. You get 11 more eye level, you get more trinkets. The corruption's coming in 11.1.5, which is going to be another like 2 to 3% damage. Plus whatever they throw in 11.7, 11.1.7. We're going to see a lot of keys climbed up, and as keys climb higher, single target damage is going to become more important. Right now, Vengeance brings funnel, which is very, very good. Obviously, it brings a similar funnel to Havoc. Havoc's a little bit stronger. But I could see, like, if Vengeance ever gets nerfed and drops out, I could see maybe one of these DPS dropping out for a Havoc in certain situations. Honestly, I think it might be Unholy, because Unholy's very good. They're very unkillable. But their damage profile right now is very RNG based on Blood Beasts. Because Blood Beasts are super uncapped, and they're honestly pretty low spawn rate, getting one or not getting one is a pretty huge swing in your damage. Now, you're still doing good damage aside of that. You do probably comparable damage like a Havoc, but obviously without the funnel. But the Blood Beast swings are kind of where like this lies, right? If you get a Blood Beast, you're doing 30 million DPS on a pack. If you don't get a Blood Beast, you're doing like 8 or 8 to 10, which is not great. So I could see that happening. Obviously, I think like any nerfs this comp, and I think Havoc stocks do rise up, which is pretty good. I mean, we are the 3rd most represented melee. If we go up more and more, we do drop off a bit behind Enhancement, because Enhancement is just very good. But, we stay pretty high at most of these levels. Now, Ret has the Ret bump because it's A, pretty good, and B, there's like a crazy amount of people who play Ret. But Havoc, decently enough, we're a pretty good like off meta choice, I'd say, if you want to do that. Sorry, Goose is yelling a bit here. But, like Havoc's in a decent enough spot. Obviously not meta, but pretty good. I actually don't know. I'm assuming Shad is the top Havoc right now, but I do want to see where we go till we find a Havoc. I don't know where Shad would be. There we go. This is the highest one I've seen. They are not the number 1 Havoc. Let's find this way. So top Havoc is, it's Entrid and then Shad and then Evade. So Havocs are at like 3.4-ish range in the top. If we compare that to like everyone else, sorry, let me just go back here. Mythic Plus, like let's look at Kira, right? They are 3.6, so we're about 200 IO behind like tanks and stuff. So not that far off, honestly. Obviously, not ideal, not meta, but I think Havoc's in a good enough spot here where you can find yourself to get invites to keys. I mean, I haven't poked a ton this season, so I could be wrong on that. But we're especially in a spot where if some of the meta comp gets nerfed out, if Vengeance loses its power, and some of the other DPS specs maybe drop off a bit, you find you need a lot more single target as key levels increase, right? Because we are at pretty low key levels here compared to gear. There's like 10, 11, 13 more eye levels to gain, which is a crazy amount, as well as corruption's coming in about like a month or so. So people will find themselves pushing higher. And as you go higher, the walls start to be priority mobs, they start to be bosses. It's not going to be like, oh, let's AoE blast this pack. And if the funnel that Vengeance Demon Hunter brings you, which Havoc of course brings more, but Vengeance is also just a very good tank. If that funnel that it brings you starts to fall off, get nerfed, whatever, the AoE blaster comps aren't as valuable. I mean, you have Fire Mage, but then I could honestly see Havoc being brought in for extra magic damage for that funnel. We have a niche which we're very good in. It's just right now I don't think that niche is as important because of how strong Vengeance is. So kind of how Havoc ends up being, right? It's like, how strong is Vengeance? Oh, it's not that good. Havoc's good. How strong is Vengeance? Oh, it's very good. Havoc's not that good. But on its own, in like a vacuum, I think Havoc is a pretty decent Mythic Plus spec. We're very tanky. We've gotten more tanky this season with Eldrazi Reaver. We have very consistent damage now, which is a very powerful thing to have. We just don't have as much uncapped AoE blaster opportunity. We're doing that good funnel, which can be valuable. So there you go. I don't know, that's kind of it, right? We're mid. That's what you wanted. That's what you wanted. I don't know. I think we're a little bit better than mid. We're like slightly above average, I'd say. Mythic Plus, I think we're above average. Raid, we're slightly above average. So decent spot. Obviously, you know, it's in a spot where we probably won't get buffed and probably won't get nerfed. But is that really a bad spot to be in? I don't know. It's up to you, I guess. So there you go. That's kind of the analysis of how Havoc's doing. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully Vengeance Guide Friday. We will see. No promises. But yeah. So see you guys then. And, like, comment, subscribe. 15,000 subs end of the year. Hope we get there. And I'll see you guys later. Peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you to Alexander Trifunovic, Rukaza, Fear Redefined, Loose Change, Jorge Polanco, Matthew Barr, Zuligan, Gabriel Correa, Magic Man 133, Falafel Darren Dark Terror. Thank you all so much for watching the videos and supporting the channel. Again, just thank you everybody for helping support. But if you want to support me a little extra, consider becoming a channel member. Have your voice read at the end of each video, as well as a little bit of a different role in the Discord. So again, thank you all so much. Appreciate you guys watching, liking, commenting, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.